Well, I just want to suggest that you absolutely stay to the end of this episode. So much to report and very, very important, I think, analysis. We'll see. All right. Unless the Fed has some good news tomorrow, it is very hard to see what will keep this market from going to a 10% correction. Despite all the good news, it is clear that Tesla will be swept up along with that retreat. Even Amazon's good numbers today only gave them a reprieve on their $6 down day, with that $6 being put back in the after hours. So this is going to be across the board, and it's going to impact everybody. Now, we're going to cover the consumer confidence numbers in a minute. This broke the badly injured back of the market today. It was already in trouble with earlier reports that were out this morning, but this was a final straw, and the market went down hard. In addition to the Fed's decision tomorrow, we also get the ADP job numbers, we get the job openings numbers, and then in the afternoon or later in the morning, we get the auto sales, all of particular importance to you and me. But then in important to the markets, you get the construction spending and the ISM manufacturing numbers tomorrow. So nothing to worry about. Anyway, Tesla on the day gave up 11 in the regular trading. And another $1.58 in the after hours for a total 12.35 as I was writing this. It could be way different by now. We'll check that in a few minutes. But some of this was probably due to the additional layoffs. There was no context to those layoffs until later, and we'll talk about that. However, more recently, Elon also added, and then in addition to that, there was the market being down so strongly, and there was probably the potential for some profit taking after extremely strong couple of days, or a few days even. So what does all that mean? Well, let's start with the color that Elon added later in the day about the layoffs. He says, Tesla still, this is a specific quote on X, Tesla still plans to grow the supercharger network, but at a slower pace. And then for new locations, fewer new locations being opened, and more focus on 100% uptime and expansion of existing locations. Okay, so we're going to take the existing locations, add more superchargers to those. So in other words, we've got the spread we need, especially in the United States, probably also in China, probably also in Europe. He probably feels pretty good about the locations of the existing superchargers. But as you grow the business, you're just going to need more at those same locations. That's a lot less work in terms of working with municipalities, working with regions, et cetera, trying to find partners like Target in the United States and others to put these things together. So this would mean you need far less people if you're going to slow down the number of locations and only add to those existing locations. All right. Why is this happening at this time? I think we've talked about it a little bit the other day. We've been talking about it for a couple of days, but there is more to be said about what all this is about as we've been going along. So my take, and please understand, I think there's a real good chance that I'm wrong, but there's also a real good chance that I'm right. Elon is driving around in version 13 or 14. He's already said so. Okay, we know that he's moved along in the series. He has zero doubt, maybe less than zero doubt, that a Robotaxi is around the corner. Maybe it's 8.8, maybe it's earlier, maybe it's later, but that the car will be able to take care of Robotaxi type activities. He has also been in the lab with Optimus, and he knows, probably again, zero chance, less than zero chance. He knows that Optimus is going to be shipped next year. It's less than zero chance that it won't, is what I meant. He is seeing the product being produced at Dojo, the product. In other words, what is Dojo producing? What are those NVIDIA chips? What are they? How fast are they? What are they able to do? What kinds of things are they getting out of those? And he knows what is going to come out of that for Robotaxi. He knows what's going to come out of that for Optimus, and he knows what might come out of it in terms of additional product lines yet to be announced. And all of those things change everything. Over and over again, especially during the last few months, I have talked about on this channel what happens with small divisions. They become so much chopped liver when the big drivers take over. We will now have 5 massive drivers. This has been true for quite a while, maybe even since I started the channel. But these are going to be the 5 drivers. Optimus is going to be number 1, maybe by double or triple or quadruple over FSD and robotaxis. Then we'll have the Robotaxi network. That'll be number 2, and it will be multiple times bigger than the other 3, okay? Then you'll have energy storage, cars and trucks, and probably some kind of an AWS type product. All of those will be, the sales will be over 100 billion on each of those divisions, maybe on the order of 3, 4, 500 billion on each of those divisions. Maybe those divisions will actually be larger than the largest companies that exist today when they're fully up and rolling, let's say in 2030, 2033, something like that. And all of them will be throwing off profits, unheard of profits, okay? All 5 will be equal to or larger than Apple, Saudi Aramco, Walmart, Microsoft, and the sum total will be larger than all 4 combined in revenues and profits. This is not just an optimistic analysis. This is totally within the realm of reason. And if 1 or 2 of those 5 don't pan out, you still have the other 3. There's never been anything like this in history. I've been watching this for a very, very long time, and you've all read the history books. Tell me another situation in history where you have 5 divisions of a company that could all have the absolute potential to be larger than any company that currently exists. And then if 1 or 2 don't, no big deal, so to speak. In fact, if 4 out of 5 don't, if only Optimus survives, it would still be the biggest company by a lot on Earth. Okay, so Elon, of course, is doing the same thing down the street over there at SpaceX, and he's got 2 divisions that could also be the largest companies in the world. The total company is already among the largest privately held companies on the planet by CapEx, and it will soon be the largest by revenue. And so that's just 2 more divisions that are not Tesla, but they are important in the scheme of things. So the timing of this restructuring has to do with those realities. Okay. The impact on robotaxis on the future superchargers would be important to take into consideration. What's going to happen when it's 50% robotaxis? Are we going to need as many superchargers? Yes, no, what do you think? Maybe we'll need less superchargers in the future because the robotaxis won't go to a supercharger to get their charge. They'll probably go someplace else. Maybe it'll be inductive, maybe who knows exactly what that'll be, but they will probably not be the same as the superchargers we're thinking of right now. What about the impact on Gen 3 when robotaxis are half of the sales? Well, that's going to be important too. I'm not just Gen 3, but also on all cars. So Gen 3 is going to come in, and that's going to have a huge impact on the overall program. And then you got the robotaxis, and that's going to reduce maybe the total quantity of cars that we need on the roads. Well, the total number of cars that we need to produce. And then what about the impact of new battery tech from CATL and the continuing overcapacity and dropping prices on these batteries? That might be what happened to the cutback in management on 4680. Nothing to do, as so many people have been saying, oh, well, maybe they were unhappy with the progress of the 4680s, and so that's why they had to let these folks go. No, maybe the progress is just fine, but maybe all of a sudden, because of the things that CATL is doing, maybe they're slowing down 4680 because it's not really the right product at the right time in terms of the overall product situation. And even the 4680 benefit of getting the IRA money, the $35 and $45, per kilowatt hour, maybe that's not as important compared to the kinds of batteries that CATL is going to be making and the kind of batteries that actually Tesla will be making on CATL lines that they're selling us for Reno. So things have changed radically over the last couple of months, and there's going to be more impacts than just those. I'll have to save those for another day. All right. There's way more to come. Hang in there. There's way more stuff. So, but I'd like to know what you think about it. Do you think, I'm highly confident that I've beaten connecting the dots to connecting these particular dots. Maybe you think I'm all wet. I'd love to know. All right, Sawyer Merritt reports, if Metal has, I'm sorry, IF Metal, that's looks like if in our language, if Metal, IF Metal has today announced that the Tesla approved repair shops in Sweden that had been taken out in a sympathy strike will once again be able to start repairing Tesla cars starting this week. Good news, something going on with that strike over there in a positive direction. All right, here we go. The consumer confidence numbers, which broke the back, as I said, of the market late today. Consumer confidence fell in April for the third straight month and touched a 21-month low due to the high cost of food and gas and fresh worries about the jobs market. The consumer confidence index sank to 97%. To a 97 rating compared to 103 last month. The conference board said this on Tuesday. That's the lowest level since July of 2022. Consumer confidence tends to signal whether the economy is getting better or worse. Confidence has retreated since the start of the year and is now well below the pre-pandemic high. Elevated price levels, especially for food and gas, dominated consumers' concerns with politics and global conflicts as distant runner-ups. Economists polled by the Wall Street Journal had forecast the index to register 103.5. Boy, were they off on that one. So a measure that looks at how consumers feel about the economy right now dropped to a 5-month low of 142.9. A confidence gauge that looks ahead 6 months fell even more sharply to 66.4 in April from 74 in the prior month, and it's the third straight reading in a row under 80. Historically, readings below 80 in expectations index signal a forthcoming recession, but the index has dipped below that mark repeatedly last year, but the economy didn't actually go into it went into a technical recession, but nobody called it a recession. Anyway, as I mentioned this morning briefly, I have raised my number. I think it's 30% chance now that we will see a recession in the third quarter. The economy is fine, according to this article by Marketplace. The economy is fine by most measures, but still high inflation and high interest rates have sapped the confidence of consumers. Well, what do consumers do when that happens? They start putting their hands in their pockets. They start getting a little more cautious about how they spend. And then, of course, that impacts the economy. Buying groceries or going out to eat is expensive, and gas prices have risen lately as well. Consumers are also cutting back on purchases of big ticket items because of high borrowing costs, and we'll find out tomorrow what that is with regard to autos, but we already reported earlier about Mercedes, Volkswagen, and Stellantis apparently is leading. They're in the worst shape of all three, especially for U.S. Brand names, not doing well at all, doing worse than anybody. A new worry is the softening labor market. Americans say it's getting harder to find a job, according to this consumer confidence survey. Looking ahead, confidence retreated further in April, reaching its lowest level since July 22, as consumers became less positive about the current labor market situation and more concerned about future business conditions, job availability, and income. All right, let's take a look at the numbers here. Let's start over here with Tesla. Tesla is now down 244 in the after hours for a total of 1330 for the day. But again, after the big run up, this is a minor fallback. I've seen at least one analyst saying that he thinks that the Tesla will be up tomorrow. I'm not so sure of that because we've got all this bad news. Potentially bad news tomorrow. I can't think of any way that tomorrow is going to be good news in terms of the Fed. They're going to have to figure out what to do when they've got stagflation on their hands. That's for sure. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the other. The Dow ended up down 570, the NASDAQ down 325, the S&P down 80, and we've got all of the Mag 7 down. Apple with 317, we got NVIDIA down 13, Microsoft down 12, all across the board, except for in the after hours, Amazon did pick up. Well, I'm sorry, Amazon now has lost almost all that $6 that it was up in the after hours. So having a net loss for the day of $4. for and change. All right, let's go ahead and take it. What did the bonds do as a result of all this today? We have got the bonds with us now at 7 points. We are now at 4682. That looks to me, let me make sure that this is the final number. 7. Oh, that's right. We're not, I don't think we don't have the after hours yet. I don't think. 505, maybe we do. Okay, 4682. Still not at 47. We've got the 2-year at over 5037, but that is a distinct. No, that's about the same. Okay, all right. Not a lot of difference there. Let's go on to oil. Oil unchanged at 82. Brent almost 88. So almost back to $6. Yeah, almost $6 again between those two. That's been a while since we've seen that. Natural gas back under $2 at $1.99, barely under $2. Gold slipping to 2302, almost about to go under 2300. And we have, so yeah, we're not seeing, and the Bitcoin down 2567 on the day at 60,000, about to drop under 60. Okay, and then again, we don't have the pre-market yet because I'm doing this early. So one other thing I wanted to mention to you is that Brian White and I did another video today. Well, we did it yet anyway. You don't care when we did it. It's a great video. You're going to want to go see that. We talk about Elon Musk and his impact, and kind of becomes like a precursor of what I just talked to you about. So check out right there for the card on that one. By the way, if you haven't hit like, that's, you can still do that. And then you can hit subscribe. And if you're still watching, you might be the perfect person to join Patreon. Go on down below. All you got to do is click the link and you can go over to Patreon and get on board. That's all I've got for you this afternoon. There will be a before the bell tomorrow morning. The rest of the day is really in question, as we'll be driving from Toronto to Montreal. But it's been great.